But imagine if the tent was your home. You didn't have a home to go to. And that's where a lot of oppressed Muslims around the world are living in. Their home is tents, racing cyclones, hurricanes, freezing winters, risk of fires, disease, or violence. Land is essential for every aspect of our lives, including food, water, raw material, dwellings, and shelter. Provides a connection to a place and history, a space to play, learn, define culture, express spirituality, and anchor memory and identity. Land has been taken over, stolen, misappropriated, it has been for a long time. Let's take a moment to remember that this land that we're meeting on belongs to the Nipmuc, Agawan, and Pompanalucans, and other tribal communities, all of whom are only now recognized in the name of Massachusetts. We have all watched land being stolen today in Palestine, just like in Rohingya land in Arakan, lands belonging to the Turkic Uyghur in East Turkestan, demographic changes brought about by legislation in Kashmir. We have many causes, but only one organization in the US and Canada to deal with them on an Ummah standpoint. Tonight, I invite you to listen, understand, and invest in justice for all. I'll invite Asima Silva and Zahira Gill. Asima Silva is an elected official of the town of Alden as a member of the school committee for the Wachusett Regional School District. She graduated from Worcester Polytechnic Institute with a master's in computer science, and she's a software engineer. She earned the title of IBM Master Inventor. She co-founded Enjoy Good to follow her passion of outreach and interface activities with local religious educational institutions to build bridges and understanding and appreciation between communities. Due to her work, she was invited by Congressman McGovern to attend the State of the Union in 2016. Currently, she's the host of a radio show and TV show called Perspectives. Asima is the volunteer from Land Coast Commission liaison for Justice For All. I will also invite Zahira Gill, who is a longtime resident of the area. He's an engineer. He also has a keen interest in furthering human rights, beginning with the Boston Mobilization for Survival, then with Jewish Voice for Peace, and with Justice For All for about a decade now. He leads the Save India from Fascism campaign at the organization. So I welcome Asima and Zahira.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. This is a wonderful crowd that we see here today. It is actually larger than we had expected. And I know that some of you are still coming in and they have not had food yet, but we ordered some more. We will be very obliged if you would please wait until after the short program. We don't have a very long program. You can wait until after the program and then take your food that should come in by the inshallah. But let me start with what I had written down. That will extend more, by the way. So last year, if you were here, you would remember that we started with a video of Brother Abu Bakr Tambadu. Brother Abu Bakr Tambadu is the Justice Minister of Gambia. And the video was of a speech that he had done for Justice For All when we had hosted him in DC and in other cities. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we could not get into Boston. This year, I start with a story. A few days ago, Adila Hashim, the Honorable Human Rights Lawyer, made her case at the International Court of Justice. She referred to Justice For All's work, although she probably did not even know that it was our work. She used the Gambia versus Myanmar case to cite a precedent as she made her case. Our work has effect much beyond what is immediately apparent. Palestine, Justice For All is doing quite a bit. And unfortunately, I didn't have any banners for Palestine, that's why I have not really put any banners in there right now. But a lot of the phone banking that has been going on with a lot of young people, that is a collaborative effort, and Justice for All has been providing the training that goes into that phone banking. How do you make a call? What do you ask for? The advocacy. All of that has been done by Justice for All. Beyond that, two things that we are doing that need to be sustained, and the emphasis here is on the need to be sustained. Please remember that for later. And it needs to be worked on regularly. We are doing a media watch, and we've got a number of volunteers who have been monitoring major media outlets. And each time they see a bad story, such as the one that was published yesterday, where it said, Dearborn, Michigan, the jihad capital of the US, or something to that effect. One of the volunteers would go back and point out the irregularities in that story and say, you got it wrong. Now, is it having an effect? Inshallah, we don't know quite yet what the effect will be, but this is something that needs to be sustained so that we will see an effect in the future. The other thing that we've been doing is we've been encouraging people and we've been training them on how to make submissions to the International Criminal Code. Because the International Criminal Code has teeth. And if you can identify people who are committing violations, then we can go after them. But I'm going to very quickly go through some slides. It takes teamwork, obviously, and we have a team that is based in the United States and Canada, and we work on multiple projects, the Rohingya as well as we are the United Nations. But as I said, we've been doing a lot of congressional advocacy and the phone bank training that's been going on. We do have consultative status as the United Nations, and that is the Imam that you see there is our UN Programs Director. And we were at Geneva, and I will let Asima talk more about that. But we also represent you on Capitol Hill. We want you to go to Capitol Hill next, because we are planning an advocacy trip for Palestinian children, inshallah. Oops, sorry. And we've got a lot of reports. Any human rights organization has to put out reports. And we had some reports on the table that you came in. You're free to take them to read. Please do not take them home with you. You can always download PDFs from our website if you wish. And of course, we're trying to change the narrative on Palestine. As I told you, we're doing a media watch. And we are hoping to expand that. On Kashmir, we've got a digital timeline. And we've done many seminars. And one seminar is actually tomorrow. If you've got it in your WhatsApp or in your mail, please try to join. This is our booth at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago. Over there you will see one of our partner people over there he's a Manipuri Christian, where 249 churches were destroyed in 36 hours. Now why am I showing you this picture? There is a story behind this too. The Indians tried to shut us down. They complained to the parliament asking them to remove our material, and the only reason they do that is because we are affected. And here's where Asima comes in.
Thank you, Brother Zahir. In this picture, last year, Akashi Bhatt, the daughter of Sanjeev Bhatt, received the JFA's Court of Justice Award, not only for herself, but also on behalf of her father. JFA arranged an advocacy trip with many meetings with congresspeople and senators were arranged that she could advocate for her father's release as a prisoner of conscience. Akashi is an extremely courageous woman who has stood against on programs against Muslims in Gujarat. I had the pleasure of spending some time with her that day, and I asked her the most glaring and obvious question that was running through my head. Why do you so passionately advocate not only for your father's release, but for all the minority rights in India, especially Muslims? Why? You're a surgeon in UK, you've grown up, your mother and your brothers are being completely threatened and harassed, but she keeps advocating for their rights. And this is what she said to me. She said, my father took an oath. He vowed to protect all citizens of India. a country he loves, a secular democracy. He raised me with these values, and I will live and fight for these values. So definitely a very well-deserved award for her. During these meetings, during this advocacy trip, JFA also advocated for 10,000 refugee allocations for Rohingyas and 10,000 for the Uyghurs. We also provided the Nazification of India report, which was filled with evidence, statistics, and references that explain why India is on the decline of minority rights and liberties, especially for Muslims. This report was also presented last year on my previous UN trip on behalf of JFA to many country missions and international organizations. Just a few months ago, I was honored again to go to the UN, and this time with Hannah Zuberi, representing JFA for the Universal Periodic Review of India. We collaborated with other organizations, Hindus for Human Rights and World Evangelical Alliance. This is one of the key reasons why JFA has made an impact, spreading awareness and steering policy changes, because of collaboration and coalition building. The organizations that JFA collaborates with not necessarily share all our views. We disagree on some of the things, such as last year's trip to the UN. There was a disagreement on using the word Nazification associated with India because it may offend some countries. But we as JFA held our own and worked with organizations to work together for a common cause. Even though we may not agree 100% on everything, we still work together and we actually work for the mission. This year, we met several countries, and just to name a few, we met with the Polish mission, the Australian mission, and many other international organizations in Geneva, such as Civicus, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and From Asia, and meetings with the special rapporteurs, such as violence against women. I don't have time to list all the meetings and all the take-backs and all the feedback that we got, but it was extremely productive. These trips and engagements had an effect. The Polish Minister Counselor immediately recognized me from last year's trip, and he recalled JFA's Nazification report that I had shared with him. He actually said, and I quote, "It was really well done, very well outlined and clear." The Human Rights Watch UN Geneva director also recognized us and the report because she was part of one of the missions of a different country before she joined that organization. Which leads me to stress that JFA needs funds. We need to continue doing these trips, spreading awareness with facts and data, and continue engaging with special rapporteurs, organizations, and different country missions. Just being in the hallways of the UN makes a difference. For example, after observing one of the OHCHR sessions, I had seen a beautiful piece of art on the wall in the UN halls. It was Islamic art, and I wanted to take a selfie. Of course, I'm not a millennial, I don't know how to take a selfie, I was looking a little ridiculous. And right when I was doing that, the session had ended, and people were coming out. And coincidentally, one gentleman came up to me and said, "I know you." Now you have to understand, when someone says at the UN, "I know you," you don't know their motive. So I said, "You do?" And he said, "Yeah, aren't you from Massachusetts?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I know you from either the newspaper or the State House." And I said, "Well, I was at the State House celebrating the Muslim elected officials to find out he was actually the U.S. Human Rights Officer. And he recognized me because his wife is from Massachusetts. He asked if we could take a picture together, probably because he saw that I was struggling. And then he said, "I want to send it to Congressman McGovern, just so that he knows that I actually do my job." But the greatest part is the fact that now Congressman McGovern is aware that when JFA brings issues to him in Worcester, Massachusetts, or in DC, we are committed to the cause. We will bring it to the international stage. Lastly, the work JFA does, especially with the UN that at least I had experience with, rattled India, and I'll tell you why. The coalition had arranged an event. It was a panel to discuss the situation in India in more detail. Many country missions and organizations were invited. It was a very, very successful event. And you know what was very successful is we had people following us. Not in a good way, but to see what we were saying and what we were doing. Trying to sabotage our meetings. Showing up to our events to ask aggressive questions that were actually taped. Saying their false narratives in the time that they were given so that the tapings could be doctored and shared online to discredit our work and our panelists. So we need funds to continue this work. There was a Kashmiri delegation that we saw, and they were eagerly waiting for country missions to give them time to meet. No meetings, they got nothing. They were roaming in the hallways in the lobby and wandering the halls trying to catch someone's attention. In fact, they spent about 2 days observing us, hovering over our shoulders, observing our work. Finally, one of them came to us, he was an international relations professor in Kashmir. And he said, what you guys are doing is great. It's amazing that you're getting the time, and you are filled with meetings, and you get the attention that you're looking for. And what I was really saying alhamdulillah for when he was telling us all his issues, what he had gone through in Kashmir, was I was saying alhamdulillah, I am representing an organization that not only had a reputation to get the times that we were asking for with these special rapporteurs, international organizations, and country missions, we have a strategy. We have a very well-balanced strategy. And that is what I believe allows us to advocate successfully, is that we look at coalition building, bring in all the parties on the issue involved, we work together and we present our case, and we're all talking saying the same message to these people. So what do? Take away from here in my experience at the UN, I encourage you, please, fund more of these trips, because we need to keep them listening. We need those country missions to remember our work.
Thank you, Asima. It's good. Like I said, we've got a lot of people, but at the same time, we have several organizations that are represented here also. I see people from the Indian American Muslim Council. Thank you so much for coming. I see people from the Indian Muslim Relief and Charities, from Helping Hands. But the organization that is very dear to me is the Jewish Voice for Peace. Long before I began my work with Justice For All, I began doing advocacy and activism with Boston Organization for Survival. I have two mentors of mine, Elsa and Susan. And they have been long friends of mine. And I'm so happy to have them here today. But as far as the formal introduction is concerned, I'm going to pass it over to Saki to do.
Thank you, Sister Asima, Brother Zahir. Jewish Voice for Peace is the premier organization working for freedom of Palestine. JVP Boston has often helped in whatever way they can for our causes and have been together with us in joint action. Tonight, we have a senior leader of JVP Boston, Susan Etscovitz. She's a Brookline resident, has been a member of Jewish Voice for Peace for 12 years and has served in different leadership capacities. She's a proud member of JVP, which is the largest Jewish anti-Zionist organization in the world. She has a Master's of Education in Counseling and for 35 years worked with the Department of Children and Families, first as a social worker and then as a supervisor until retirement 13 years ago. Since then, she's devoted her time, energy, and heart to advocacy on behalf of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. In the 60s, Susan was involved in the civil rights movement and joined VISTA, which is the domestic Peace Corps. She trained in Tuskegee, Alabama, and worked in Baltimore. Susan has been engaged in other movements and activism throughout her life. Susan is also a proud mother, stepmother, and grandmother. Besides her family, the pursuit of freedom, justice, and equality for Palestine and all oppressed people is her passion, and she prays that it will be achieved without another precious life being lost. Inshallah. Please welcome Susan.
Assalamu alaikum. I've been told several times, my name is Susan Etscovitz, and I'm a proud member of the leadership team of Boston chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. It is an honor and privilege to be speaking to you in this beautiful space and on the same program as the renowned Imam Haji and many of the other speakers who are going to speak and who have spoken, I'm truly humbled. I would like to tell you about Jewish Words for Peace, then read something I wrote following my return from an interfaith delegation to Palestine. I also would like to read a poem that touches me deeply. As you've heard, Jewish Words for Peace is the largest anti-Zionist organization in the world. It is a national grassroots organization inspired by Jewish tradition to work for just and lasting peace, according to the principles of human rights, equality, and international law for all the people of Israel and Palestine. JVP has over 200, or at least that would be 410-7, online supporters, over 70 chapters, a youth wing, a rabbinic council, an artist council, an academic advisory council, and an advisory board made up of leading U.S. intellectuals and artists. JVP Boston is a chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace National. We had 4,000 members before 10/7, but since then our numbers have grown exponentially. We say, end the genocide, no aid to Israel, ceasefire now. We are Jews fighting for Palestinian liberation and Judaism beyond Zionism. We work with peace activists in Israel and Palestine and in broad coalitions with all organizations working for human rights, which includes Jewish, Arab American, faith-based, peace, and justice groups. JVP calls for a U.S. foreign policy based on promoting peace, democracy, human rights, and respect for international law. An end to the Israeli occupation of Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. A resolution of the Palestinian refugee problem, consistent with international law and equity. An end to all violence against civilians. Peace among the peoples in the Middle East. JVP Boston initiates a wide range of events, programs, and campaigns. Since 2009, when Palestinian civil society called for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign, we have been involved in many BDS projects. We are spearheading now actions against AIPAC, along with other campaigns, in coordination with JVP National, other JVP chapters, as well as other local and national organizations. In Massachusetts, I'm proud to say that we, with colleagues, have successfully twice defeated the passage of an anti-boycott and divestment bill in the legislature.
Whoa.
And now we are awaiting the findings on the attempts to impose the International Holocaust Remembrance Reliance definition of anti-Semitism, which equates criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism. JVP and allies have worked mightily to prevent this IHRA from becoming law, and keeping up, fingers crossed, inshallah, that it will not pass. That's about what I'm saying for JVP. And now I'm going to tell you what my thoughts upon returning from my first trip to Palestine. What is a nice Jewish girl like me doing in a place like this? The place is Palestine. I'm a suburban Jew born in 1945. I was raised with the belief that the state of Israel was home of the Jews, a hard-won, logical result of years of discrimination, programs, expulsions, and ultimately the final solution, in which 6 million Jews died at the hands of Germans with the tacit complacency of other countries. I love Exodus, book, movie. I idolized the books movement. I put money in a Hadassah box for Israel, planted trees in the names of loved ones, and felt pride in contributing to the land of milk and honey. Did I know or care that with the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, referred to as the Nakba, many Palestinians, Muslim, Bedouin, and Christian, who lived continuously in this land, were killed, expelled, confined, imprisoned, discriminated against, in order to realize the Zionist plan to establish a Jewish state, a Jewish-only state? Did I know that the pine tree forests were planted to hide the very existence of the destroyed Palestinian villages and erase the history of a population who cultivated and worshipped the land they had inhabited for hundreds of years? Did I know that the water-sucking eucalyptus trees that destroyed the arability of the soil were planted to hold the stolen Palestinian land, and until they too are torn down to erect looming Jewish settlements? Did I know that the State of Israel totally demolished Palestinian homes, built a wall and roads to cut off farmers from their homes and lands, limited the amount of water Palestinians received, forbade them from catching the rainwater, burned their olive trees, and denied them the very right to return that Jews hold so dear for themselves? Maybe I did know some of this, but I was slow to accept it. After all, there was the Holocaust. There is, however, no reason ever for one set of people to take away the humanity of another, to think of the other as cockroaches. Israel will implode if it continues on its present course. World opinion is mounting against the policies and actions of the Israeli government. Yet the U.S. is spending billions of dollars to bolster the apartheid state. Let us put our money into peace and reconciliation efforts and support those who need relief from oppression, disease, hunger, and in this country and abroad. And now I just want to read a poem which is very near and dear to me, and probably many of you. I hope it's okay that I read it. If I must die, if I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking Evan in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale.